That's what's amazing. I thought insurance was long-term process because we insure a person for 1 year in medical health insurance, let's say, or disability. So you insure for a period of 1 year, then you can change the contract or do so. And then a person can be sick for 1 year, and then you pay for 3-4 years. So I thought it was long, like cycles are long, but 7 years, my God,
it's crazy. I mean, here's the thing: it's such a creative industry that a filmmaker that has decided to make this movie, and it's not a simple decision to say decided to make this movie. They've been thinking about it with lots of things going on in their minds of when's the right time, how would I do this, and so they've lived with it themselves for maybe 5 or 6 years, and then they push it towards here's a treatment, here's the initial idea on a very short read that they might share with a very close circle of producers, friends that say, I really like that. And then what if so-and-so was in it? How would this work? And so it shapes up into a script. That script, depending on how it turns out, they have to go and pitch it like any business.
Yeah.
They go and pitch it. They pitch it to movie studios. They pitch it to streamers. Movie makers typically want to go to studios just because it's the art of watching a movie in a cinema. No distractions. The phone is away. That is the perfect way to see a movie. It's not the reality of how most films are consumed today, but it's the reality.
I will come back on that later.
Yeah,
right?
Good. But it's a really big thing that they have to really. So they might live with it for 3 or 4 years. Some directors live with it for 7 or 8 years, and then once a studio says, "Great, we're thinking about making this movie," they will ask their internal teams, a greenlight team, so to speak, to run the numbers. So first of all, they'll listen to the story. Hey, we like this story, really like it, but we're going to run the numbers. And the numbers are what films are similar to it, right? So you start to build out the risk cases.
Yeah.
And you kind of call the base case, this is the most likely outcome. And you put a set of film titles that are 4 or 5 film titles that feel like this is probably the outcome. And you put those titles together because you want to understand how much they cost to make, how much are they going to make, who are the movie stars, what's the global appeal? Does it have more appeal in America? Does it have more appeal in Europe? Or China was a factor at points as well. And then, of course, you have to think about like good risk assessment. You got to think about what's the upside. So what's the high cases? What if it works out amazing? How much could we make? And not that it's a greed mindset, but they normally are a set of films that you go, if this really works out, not virally works out and catches a moment, but planned growth and upside. What does that look like? And then you've got to look at the downside as well. What if it doesn't work out? Right? What if it really, it comes out of production and it doesn't meet the requirements of what we wanted? What's the worst way that this film works out? Or what are the degrees of that downside? So there's lots of risk taking in there. So a studio then takes the film, right? You've done the risk model. You sign up to, right, here's the business plan.
Hold on a moment here.
Yeah.
I'm the insurer. You're the creative guy. And for the last 3 minutes, you just describe how an insurance product is being developed.
It's not far off, right?
There's an idea, there's some data, you run the numbers, you do a risk assessment, you look at the population, there's upside, there's downside, how much capital do you have to put up? Or what works, what doesn't work? Don't you have to put capital? Because there's also some models where it could be self-sustainable. And the business plan afterwards, I guess you have target market.
Exactly.
You underwrite your segment.
You do. Let's not forget, the movie business is a business, and not everybody. There's a large proportion of people that think it's lights, camera, action, glamour, and it is a passion thing. Don't get me wrong. Out of the different people that can work on a movie, and I mean the real broad sense of people in production, people in operations, people in finance, people in marketing. The one thing that binds those people together is they are film fans, right? So you do get people that really love film that are part of film, and you can tell a real film fan versus like a casual film fan is when you ask somebody, what's your favorite film? They will never give you an answer of a single film. They will say, kind of depends how I'm feeling. I can give you a list of 10, maybe 20. So that's when you know you've got film people. So throughout the whole process of risk assessing if we should make this film or not, it then goes through a process of once it's signed off and it's greenlit at a scenario, that's when the production budget gets released.
Okay.
That's when the process really starts to make and production is the most expensive like daily charge on a film because you might be shooting for 6 weeks in multiple locations, which means the pre-shooting of that film might take 6 months. The actual shoot of that movie in a very compressed world is like maybe 3 months or 4 months and then some reshoots. And then it goes into post-production. This is the hard job of any content creator is, well, that's a long story because films are long. It's like, what's the shortest version? But also what's the most compelling version of that movie? So it then goes into post-production where special effects are added, other attributes are added. And then towards the very end of that journey, which already from when they said, let's go make this movie, this could be a year and a half later or 12 months later.
You choose the right time to launch it.
Yeah. So then you have to pick what's the right release date for this movie. And a lot of production happens thinking about the right release date. When you're in the summer months, when you're in school holidays, there's lots of opportunity. When you head into the end of November, Thanksgiving, there's Christmas holidays still to play out across international markets. So they're the high points. Yeah. And then you hit low points, right? Where you don't date it, like you wouldn't date a horror movie in the middle of the summer because audiences want big, blockbuster, wildly entertaining films. Most horror films are scheduled around Halloween, the darker months as well. So it makes sense. So exactly. So you've got to make sure that the production process and the post-production process allows you to meet the needs of when you're releasing the movie.
Do you speak about rollout? I mean, in insurance, it's like rollout. You just, go through all the process of product development, and then it goes through. Let's say in a big group, yeah. So a local product will be developed by the local companies. So it's like a top down maybe in the country, but bottom up for the group perspective, and then they get to have the product approved, and that happens at the center. So it's a bit like your Greenlight team.
Yes.
And is done by various people. Does it mean the compliance, the risk requirement? Does it mean the standard? What does the group want to cover? What doesn't the group want to cover? Then there's the profitability element, all the scenarios.
Yes. And
then comes the moment where you say, okay, green light, but it's not the green light. There is there's
a few staging posts along the way, I'm sure.
Then you need to implement it at local level, And although a lot of things have already happened in identifying whether it fits in the process, in the system, do you need a new system or a new element, a new development, access to that development? You spoke about competition for resources earlier. In that situation, if there has to be a development, it's also a different budget. So it's the technical or the IT or digital budget that need to be granted as well. And so it's not only about product; it's does the whole machinery fit within this streamline.
They're pretty impressive machines,
and
though,
the
right?
rollout,
the rollout's so critical, and the rollout, I would say, for a movie, because a lot of the process that has taken place, we've found the director, we've found the talent, we've got the movies in production. At no point yet has the team that's taking it to market has really been included, because it's all been metrics based, dollar based. What's the income? What's the outgoing? When you take it to those local teams, and that's why we have these film conferences where you bring in a movie star and you make them feel as inclusive as possible. Like they've been part
as you said earlier, they like the movie, so
exactly
the emotions needs to be there, right?
And it's hard work, right? Working in the entertainment business, it's really hard. So for them, it's great for them to feel part of it, but it's not on every movie. So often when the movie is either nearing state of, ready for the market, or we share it with them, always in English. It's rarely translated because you wait until they say, let's translate it. So you show them the first cut of the film or the second cut of the film, and you wait for their reaction. And you're looking for two reactions. First of all, did they like it? Like, what's their actual emotional response to it? And different people react differently. A Japanese general manager will share his thoughts in a different way to a Mexican general manager or whatever that might be. But once you step away from the emotional side of, oh, I loved it, right? You then ask them the one question, what's it going to make in your market? Yeah. Right. That is the moment that will either validate the scenario that you created, or it doesn't validate it. And it can either the number they decide it's going to make X million at the box office in our country, and it's always in dollars. So sometimes the dollar fluctuation can make a difference. But typically they have to sign up to a number that's managed by a head office team. And I feel bad for them, right? Because this film has not been made for your country and you're being put under pressure to love it like it was homegrown in Mexico when actually it was more made for the European market.
That's funny. Insurance, there's some similarities there, right. I can see. But it's people business. I mean, we cover, all my career, I covered people. So not things, people. Yeah. So whether it's life, investment, health, disability or accidents, it's always very emotional things for people, because if you're sick, your health can't get more emotional than that. If you're healthy, you can be doing stupid things or live unhealthy or eat too much or wrong or take too much risk. But when something's happening to you, then it's super emotional. And I guess you mentioned earlier about the emotion, So and because it's people business, and because it's covering people, the distribution. So because insurance is not bought, it is sold. You bring that product to people, and I can see a bit that in the movie as well, right? But you bring something, and the intermediary, they need to feel they can sell that. They need to have the ability to transfer that emotion to their client, to say, look, you need to buy this product because it's going to help you somehow. And there's a trust element and trust is based on an emotion. Do I trust that guy? Do I trust that product?
I'm sure in
Am
your
I going
industry,
to pay lots of money to get that coverage and to get nothing for the next year or two and trust that something's going to happen?
Trust is a huge thing. In your industry, I would say that it's bigger than the movie game, obviously, because what's the risk to the consumer? You pay, on average, $15 or £10 in the UK, or prices are going up across Europe. But the risk isn't so big. But actually, it's also the time that you're taking to get there. So trust's a big element, but also for the movie machine, right? So if I'm thinking about the general manager that's now watched the first cut of this film and has to think, oh, who am I going to sell this to? Yeah. They have to think really, they normally will do it in collaboration with their sales team and their marketing team. Yeah. And often they will get a chance to watch the film with them, the movie with them. And they will say, well, who can we sell it to? Is it the older audience, the younger audience? What are the different segments of that? And
Isn't that the same everywhere?
Of course.
Just let me rephrase this. If a film is being developed, there's been some focus group that say, okay, we're going to target this audience. So you're saying that once the film has been, all edited and in the final product, it could be something else.
Oh, for sure. So you use, data points. I've been around the industry for a long time. And even before I was in the industry, my first degree is in engineering, so I kind of really like the art of the number at times. Okay. So you will break a trailer. So think about a movie trailer that you see on a brand new film that you know nothing about. A studio, when they break that trailer, it's a very, very precise art form. That first of all, even taking a movie down to that first trailer, it's taking that filmmaker's baby they carried for 7 years and cut it down to something that's 2 minutes long, that the filmmaker has to say, I'm okay with that going out there as a piece of marketing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a huge emotional departure for them. And then the responsibility for the studio is, let's make sure we break this as broadly as possible on multiple platforms, ideally in cinemas, of course, so people get to see it in a darkened room as the film will be consumed. But that's a very small percentage of the number of views you get on the first trailer.
Yeah.
It's normally, of course, on social media, YouTube, and then, you know, YouTube, thankfully, on television is the same landscape. But when you're thinking about mobile phones, you've got to flip it, and it's now vertical, so it crops off quite a lot of the story. So when you break the trailer, you break it against multiple audiences. You spend a lot of money on multiple platforms. You break it, and then you wait for it to go live. When it goes live, and hopefully all the technical sides of getting it on platforms work well, it then becomes not just a marketing piece, but a research piece. So you break it against multiple audiences, and then you look at how the movie trailer performed against those audiences. Did the older audience watch it through to completion? Was it expensive to get them to view it on YouTube? And you have your own baseline data to say this was successful or not successful from an audience appetite point of view.
And when you do that, you can redirect.
Exactly.
So you can do that. So it's not like there's a product and there's the way the media that is being used to push the product towards the client, and then you can see the reception of the client, and you can adapt it.
You give the audience what they want.
Okay.
So a movie that I worked on a while ago, Secret Life of Pets, the first trailer. So we don't just look at how a trailer performs from the number of views or solely, or the engagement rate in terms of, did they watch it to the end? Did they watch the first 20 seconds? Sorry, but you also look at the commentary, the social commentary, and it's not new. It's been around for a while. So even Secret Life of Pets, in the very first trailer, there was a lot of social commentary around, I really love the poodle that's headbanging, and so he became part of the marketing campaign, but he plays a very small role in the movie. So when people bought their ticket, they kind of liked that there was this headbanging poodle called Leonard, but actually it was more than that. That was just part of the world. You give audiences what they want, typically. And sometimes a movie trailer becomes its own collateral to break through the competitive noise around movies. When I worked on the very first 50 Shades of Grey.
That's actually super important,
The very first 50 Shades of Grey, which the first trailer was the most important thing to have out there. And it was, the team behind it did a masterstroke. So much so that it became newsworthy, that TV channels were carrying it across the world saying, the first trailer for 50 Shades of Broken, it's been viewed over 100 million times in the first 48 hours. These are metrics they wouldn't typically talk about, but our publicity teams would help fan the flames of how big this event is. And what did that do to the competition of other studios thinking about opening a movie over Valentine's weekend? Well, they simply pulled up their movies and moved them to a new date, because why go into battle with something that's gonna change that? The movie trailer is a real battle piece. It's a statement piece. It's a great time to learn as well.
It's very temporary though. In insurance and finance, it's more long term. You can launch a product. It can take a while to take place, and but it's so much money that is poured into marketing and brand recognition, especially for big brands. But you know, in Luxembourg, working for the number one local player, they do the same at local level. So the brand is extremely well known there, and it's about steady.
Yes.
So I don't think that they want to be 50 Shades of Blue or something like that, or red. They're much more into creating long-term trust. And I don't know if it's definitely wished, but what bridges the marketing campaign there?
I think the thing, every single marketing campaign, right? And let's face it, at least 50% of the spend is on media that you get feedback on. So it's social media, it's all of that digital media that you can hear what your customers are saying. Okay, it might be less emotional than maybe a movie trailer, but it's still something to your point. There's nothing more emotional than the healthcare, and human beings think more of their families than they do of themselves. Yeah. So when you're trying to get the right healthcare for your family, you're really at your most vulnerable. Yeah. So there is going to be a piece of creative storytelling in that moment that really helps go, wow, I really love my family. I want to spend more on it. You're not there going, I love my family, but I want the cheapest thing out there. You're thinking that is not how the human brain works. You're thinking, what's the most level of protection as a parent that I can give, even to my dog or to my family or to any of those things you have emotional things around. So I think a lot of the digital marketing discipline is exactly the same. Tell the best story that you can. Hope people react to it, but also let people share their opinion on it.
And that's extremely important with the quality team that took over all the client complaints or client feedback, working on improving it. So the angle is somehow different. The angle for insurance, I believe, is to learn from the media and the movie industry on how to use and best react on clients' feedback. What does that mean? We used to actually get the feedback literally, verbatim, and see what did they mean. And sometimes it was being changed, and sometimes we didn't care about that because it was simply impossible to change all the process for one single request. But the vibe from it, is super important. And if one client complains, it means 10 behind have not received the right service. So you were super reactive to adjust. And I think that in insurance, although it was very difficult to change that until now, that with the increasing ability, with the new era of AI and the ability to hyper-personalize the contract to the client, the coverage to the client, but hopefully also the services, then listening to how the media is reacting towards client could also allow insurance company to provide a better service, because although the timing and the length is different, the client at the end of the day is what matters.
Yeah, if it's a moviegoer selling a cinema ticket or somebody buying insurance, or even the stakeholders that are invested in those businesses, it's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. Consumers are consumers at the end of the day. Nobody wants to go and buy something that doesn't speak to them. Nobody goes to buy something they're not going to enjoy unless it's a dental plan. I don't know, but I think the similarities.
I'll tell you one thing. Sorry, but I would prefer going to the movies than buying a dental plan myself.
Yeah, I agree. But both necessary. Well, I would say dental is necessary too.